For thousands of years, humans have been drawn to the extraordinary, to the creations that seem to surpass the ordinary limits of skill and imagination. Across deserts, mountains, and islands, ancient civilizations shaped stone into structures that still baffle modern science. These constructions are not merely functional. They carry meaning, symbolism, and a sense of the divine, bridging the known and the unknown. Some stand as monumental tombs, others as sacred temples, yet all share one quality. They defy easy explanation. How were massive stones quarried, transported, and arranged with such precision? What knowledge guided the hands that built them? Knowledge we may never fully recover. In exploring these wonders, we are invited into a world where human ambition meets mystery. Each site, from the towering pyramids of Egypt to the monolithic temples of Ellora, presents a dialogue between fact and enigma. Even as archaeologists uncover clues, the structures retain a quality of the ineffable, a whisper of secrets that encourages awe and contemplation. This journey is not simply about history or engineering. It is about encountering the extraordinary, slowing down to imagine the lives, minds, and intentions of those who came before. Tonight, we will travel across continents and centuries, stepping lightly into the landscapes shaped by human hands, and uncover constructions that challenge our assumptions, ignite our curiosity, and inspire reverence. These are the ancient constructions science still cannot fully explain. In the sands of Egypt, the Great Pyramid of Giza rises with an imposing quietude. From afar, it seems simple, yet each massive block fits with an exactness that defies explanation. The precision of its alignment with the cardinal points and its mathematical proportions suggest knowledge that continues to puzzle modern scientists. How did ancient builders lift and arrange stones weighing tons without cranes or machinery? How did they achieve perfect leveling across hundreds of feet? Inside, the chambers and passageways reveal a design that is both practical and symbolic. The king's chamber and the grand gallery hint at purposes beyond the material, possibly integrating resonance, ritual, and cosmology. The pyramid's orientation with celestial bodies adds another layer of mystery, bridging earth and sky. Every stone, every angle reflects intention, inviting observers to wonder not only at what was built, but at what was known. Standing at its base, one feels the paradox of human achievement. A structure at once tangible and impossible, monumental yet precise, a creation that continues to challenge understanding. The Great Pyramid is both a beginning and an invitation, urging us to explore other wonders where human ingenuity meets enduring mystery. High in the Andean mountains, where the air is thin and the clouds drift lazily across steep ridges, Sacsayhuaman emerges like a fortress carved by the hands of giants. From a distance, the sight seems almost dreamlike, as if the earth itself had been sculpted into enormous walls that curve and spiral along the hilltops. Each stone, massive beyond ordinary imagination, interlocks with its neighbors so precisely that not even a knife can be inserted between them. There is a quiet perfection here, a sense that these walls were not merely built to defend, but to impress, to inspire, and perhaps to communicate a knowledge that has long since faded from memory. The scale and sophistication of Sacsayhuaman continue to confound historians, archaeologists, and engineers alike. The construction of Sacsayhuaman defies conventional logic. Some of the largest stones weigh over 100 tons, yet they were transported from quarries miles away, without the benefit of wheels or draft animals. Scholars speculate on methods: log rollers, ramps, lever systems, and sheer human strength. Yet no theory fully satisfies, leaving the mind to wander into the realm of wonder. How did the builders move these stones across jagged mountain terrain? How did they lift them into place with such precision that centuries of seismic activity have not shifted them? The fortress seems to carry its own defiance, as if challenging observers to understand a feat that, in modern terms, would require cranes, machinery, and countless engineers. And yet, It was achieved long ago by human hands guided by knowledge and determination now obscured by time. Walking along the winding walls, one cannot help but feel the rhythm of labor echoing through the centuries. Imagine thousands of workers chiseling, dragging, and fitting these immense stones into place, their voices mingling with the wind as it sweeps across the plateau. The curves of the walls are not random. They follow the contours of the hills, enhancing stability while creating an aesthetic that is both organic and deliberately monumental. In some sections, the walls form zigzag patterns that seem to pulse with an energy of their own, as though the structure itself were alive. This interplay between geometry, artistry, and engineering continues to captivate and mystify those who study it. The sheer mastery of alignment and fit is evidence of a culture deeply attuned to both the physical and the symbolic. Sacsayhuaman was not only a fortress. It was a ceremonial center, a place where human ambition and spiritual practice intertwined. From atop the walls, one can imagine the ceremonies that may have taken place. The rhythms of drums echoing in the valleys, the chants of priests rising above the clouds, and the congregation of people paying homage to gods or rulers. The stones themselves seem to participate in the ritual, their weight and presence grounding the intangible energies of devotion and reverence. In this way, Sacsayhuaman is more than a defensive structure. It is a dialogue between humans and the divine, a carefully orchestrated intersection of purpose, power, and mystery. One cannot ignore the scientific intrigue that surrounds Sacsayhuaman. Modern engineers have marveled at the seismic resilience of the walls. Despite earthquakes that have shaken the Andes for centuries, the stones remain interlocked, their precision allowing for subtle movement without collapse. This phenomenon highlights an advanced understanding of materials and design that may exceed what we previously attributed to the Inca civilization. Each stone is unique, meticulously shaped to fit its neighbors, reflecting not only technical skill, but a vision of permanence and harmony. The contrast between ancient ingenuity and our contemporary assumptions about technology fuels a quiet awe, inviting contemplation of what humanity has been capable of across different ages and cultures. As the sun begins its descent behind the surrounding peaks, the fortress takes on a new character. Shadows stretch long across the stones, and the interplay of light and darkness accentuates the curves and edges of the walls. The experience is almost meditative, encouraging visitors to slow down, to absorb the enormity of what stands before them, and to reflect on the passage of time. Each stone seems to whisper fragments of forgotten knowledge, fragments of a culture that understood both the power of human hands and the mysteries of the natural world. The air is cool, carrying scents of earth and stone, and in that quiet, one senses the continuity of human endeavor and the permanence of human curiosity. Sacsayhuaman also invites speculation about the continuity of knowledge across civilizations. Its architectural style and the precision of its construction evoke echoes of other megalithic sites around the world. Some researchers wonder whether certain principles of construction were shared, discovered independently, or perhaps transmitted through a forgotten network of human experience. The fortress becomes a symbol, not only of Inca ingenuity, but of humanity's persistent drive to build, to endure, and to leave a mark upon the earth. It is a reminder that the boundaries of what is possible are often defined not by tools or technology, but by imagination, discipline, and collective vision. From Sacsayhuaman, the narrative naturally moves outward, hinting at even larger mysteries in Lebanon and beyond. The walls of Baalbek, massive stones arranged with cosmic precision, echo the same questions raised in the Andes. How were such feats achieved, and why? By exploring these connections, we begin to see patterns of human creativity that transcend geography and culture. The story is not merely about stones or structures. It is about the enduring human spirit, the desire to connect with something greater than ourselves, and the mysteries left behind that continue to inspire awe and contemplation. In the high Andes, as twilight settles and the first stars appear above the peaks, Sacsayhuaman stands as a quiet testament to human ingenuity. Its walls are not just stone. They are memory, intention, and ambition frozen in time. The fortress reminds us that every civilization, no matter how ancient, leaves behind traces of questions that may never be fully answered. Yet in their silence, these structures speak to us, inviting us to wander along their walls, to marvel at their perfection, and to dream of the hands that shaped them. And as we leave the Andean heights behind, our journey continues, carrying the echoes of this enigmatic fortress forward into the lands of distant monuments and timeless mysteries. In the rolling plains of Lebanon, beneath the vast sky that stretches uninterrupted for miles, the ancient city of Baalbek rises with a silent grandeur. At the heart of this city lie the colossal stones of the Temple of Jupiter, known as the Trilithon, whose sheer size defies comprehension. Each stone weighs hundreds of tons, some exceeding 800 tons, and yet they sit perfectly in alignment, stacked as though gravity itself bows to human will. The very scale of Baalbek evokes a quiet awe. Here, unlike anywhere else, one feels the tension between human aspiration and the forces of nature, as though the earth itself had been persuaded to bend to human design. Standing at the foot of these stones, it becomes impossible not to wonder how they were quarried, moved, and positioned with such meticulous precision in an age without cranes, trucks, or modern machinery. Scholars have long debated the origins of these monoliths. Roman engineers, responsible for much of the construction in Baalbek, demonstrated ingenuity and mastery, yet even their most advanced methods seem insufficient to account for the transportation and placement of the Trilithon. Could it have been achieved entirely by human labor and ingenuity? Or does this site hint at a civilization predating Rome, one whose knowledge and methods have been lost to the ages? The stones themselves remain mute witnesses, offering no instruction manual, no explanation. Their silence is heavy with mystery, inviting speculation and demanding reverence. Here, science and imagination coexist in tension. The facts we know about ancient engineering contrast sharply with the impossibility implied by these massive blocks. Walking along the base of the Trilithon, one notices the precision with which each stone fits the next. The surfaces are smooth, the edges sharp, and yet the arrangement accommodates subtle shifts, a design that allows the structure to withstand seismic tremors common in the region. The ancients may have understood principles of stability and movement that still elude modern engineers. In the quiet, as the wind sweeps across the plains and the sun casts long shadows, it is possible to imagine thousands of workers laboring in unison, guided by a vision and purpose that transcends the ordinary. The contrast between the physical impossibility of the task and the flawless execution of the stones creates a sense of awe that lingers long after one leaves the site. Baalbek is not only a marvel of construction, but also a testament to humanity's spiritual and cultural expression. Temples built in this location speak of devotion, ritual, and the desire to reach beyond the human plane into the divine. The alignment of these stones, the orientation of the temples, and the spatial harmony of the complex suggests that the ancients were as concerned with symbolism and cosmic order as they were with architectural achievement. The site invites reflection on how human hands can transform raw stone into vessels of meaning, and how each block, massive as it may be, becomes part of a larger story about civilization, belief, and the search for permanence in an impermanent world. The deeper one studies Baalbek, the more questions arise. How were these enormous stones lifted and placed with such exactitude? How did the ancients transport stones that modern cranes struggle to move across the distance from quarries? And why dedicate such immense effort to construction that seems to exceed even the most ambitious religious or civic requirements? Some theorists propose that Baalbek preserves the knowledge of a forgotten culture, an advanced society whose understanding of physics, mechanics, or geometry surpasses what we attribute to ancient humanity. Others suggest that extraordinary ingenuity alone, honed over generations and fueled by devotion, could account for these achievements. Regardless of the explanation, the site evokes a quiet humility, reminding us that human potential has always walked hand in hand with mystery. As the sun tilts lower in the sky, Baalbek transforms under the changing light. Shadows stretch along the massive stones, emphasizing their height and mass, and the air fills with a sense of timelessness. One begins to perceive the monument not just as an architectural feat, but as a statement across centuries, a whisper from the past to the present. The tranquility of the surrounding plains, punctuated by the occasional gust of wind, enhances the contemplative atmosphere. Standing among these stones, one can almost sense the pulse of history itself, the countless hands that shaped, lifted, and aligned them, and the unknown methods that enabled such perfection. It is an experience that merges human history with the ineffable, leaving the mind suspended between explanation and wonder. Baalbek's mysteries extend beyond its construction. Archaeological evidence suggests layers of occupation and modification over thousands of years, indicating that the site held enduring significance. Each successive civilization respected, adapted, and perhaps even feared the monumental scale of the stones they inherited. The ancient builders seem to have intended not only to create but to endure, embedding their vision in rock that survives millennia of natural and human forces. It is this combination of ambition and permanence that distinguishes Baalbek from other ancient sites. Here, the contrast between human fragility and monumental achievement becomes palpable, reminding visitors that our understanding of history is shaped as much by what remains as by what is lost. From Baalbek, our journey naturally flows westward and eastward, linking human ingenuity across continents. In Peru, the fortress of Sacsayhuaman resonates with similar questions of precision and purpose. In Lebanon, Baalbek magnifies them, presenting a scale that borders on the incomprehensible. Across time and geography, a pattern emerges, civilizations capable of extraordinary feats, using techniques that remain partly inscrutable to modern science, driven by vision, belief, and ambition. These sites are more than monuments. They are conversations across millennia, inviting us to listen, to imagine, and to reconsider the limits of human capability. And so, as the day wanes and the shadows lengthen across the plains of Baalbek, the trilithon stands silent, massive, and resolute. The site embodies a paradox, an enduring, tangible reality constructed by human hands, yet shrouded in mysteries that stretch beyond human comprehension. It beckons the observer to reflect on the ingenuity of our ancestors, the persistence of human vision, and the enduring allure of the unknown. With Baalbek behind us, the journey continues, carrying the echoes of its massive stones forward to lands of caves, temples, and mountains yet unexplored, where the dialogue between human ambition and ancient mystery persists. In the misty mountains of China, where rivers carve valleys and clouds cling to steep cliffs, the Long Yumen caves emerge as silent witnesses to a past that resists full understanding. Carved deep into the earth, these chambers stretch in unexpected directions, vast and precise, as if sculpted by hands that understood not only stone but geometry itself. Unlike the bustling temples or fortresses of other ancient civilizations, the caves exude an eerie stillness, a quiet grandeur that speaks of purpose yet conceals its meaning. Their walls are smooth, their corners exact, and the passageways connect in ways that suggest careful planning, as though the builders envisioned not only function but the experience of moving through space. There is no written record of their creation, no accounts of the laborers who toiled in silence, and no tools have survived that could fully explain the precision achieved. In this absence, the imagination fills the gaps, and the caves whisper their mysteries into the mind of anyone willing to linger in their shadows. The Long Yumen caves are more than just underground spaces. They are a dialogue between humans and stone, a testament to meticulous craftsmanship that challenges our understanding of ancient technology. Each chamber and corridor appears deliberately designed, both for utility and for aesthetics, with angles, arches, and niches that align with care. The larger halls open into smaller ones, forming a labyrinthine structure that hints at ceremonial, defensive, or even astronomical functions. Yet no definitive purpose has been agreed upon by modern scholars. Some suggest these caves were used for meditation or ritual, while others propose that they were tombs or storage for sacred relics. Regardless of their function, the precision with which each block was carved and positioned suggests a sophisticated knowledge of engineering that transcends casual construction. Moving through these subterranean spaces, one cannot ignore the sense of scale and patience required to create them. Laborers, unknown in both name and origin, must have spent countless years chiseling and shaping the rock. The echoes of their efforts are preserved in the silence, and the faint traces of wear on the stone hint at both use and reverence. The complexity of the caves suggests a civilization capable of advanced planning, coordination, and spatial reasoning. Each chamber and corridor is both self-contained and part of a greater whole, demonstrating an understanding of modular design that mirrors some of the most advanced architectural principles seen in human history. The contrast between the natural ruggedness of the mountains and the meticulous, almost surgical intervention of the builders magnifies the sense of wonder. One of the most compelling aspects of the Long Yumen caves is the apparent lack of conventional tools for their creation. While archaeologists have discovered chisels and basic implements elsewhere in China, none fully account for the precision seen here. The rock surfaces are unusually smooth, the joints between blocks remarkably tight, and the overall symmetry suggests techniques that are still debated. Some researchers have speculated that the builders possessed methods lost over millennia, potentially involving advanced understanding of leverage, abrasion, or even techniques now forgotten. Others posit that the caves represent the ingenuity of a people whose focus and patience were unmatched by modern standards. In either case, the result is an enduring enigma, a subterranean puzzle that continues to challenge our assumptions about what is possible without modern technology. The ambience of the caves themselves enhances their aura of mystery. Dim light filters through openings, casting shifting patterns across walls and floors. The echoes of footsteps and distant water droplets create a soft, rhythmic soundscape that seems to resonate with the structure itself. Moving through the corridors, one experiences a heightened awareness of space, sound, and scale. It is as if the caves were designed not only to house people or objects, but to engage the senses, to shape perception, and to evoke reflection. Here, in the cool, still air underground, one feels a connection to the minds of the ancients, a bridge across time forged in stone and silence. The caves ask no questions, yet their presence encourages contemplation, drawing attention to the mystery of human capability and purpose. The Long Yumen caves also invite reflection on the universality of human ambition. Across continents and millennia, similar themes appear. The desire to move massive stones, to carve monumental spaces, and to create with precision that seems almost otherworldly. While the caves are unique in form and context, they resonate with other ancient constructions, from the monolithic temples of India to the fortress walls of the Andes. This global resonance suggests that certain impulses, precision, permanence, and awe-inspiring scale, may be intrinsic to human expression. The caves, though hidden beneath layers of earth and time, become part of a larger story, connecting humanity through shared ambition and mystery. As the narrative drifts onward, the caves serve as a threshold to a new chapter of ancient ingenuity. From the quiet depths of China, our journey moves to India, to the colossal rock-carved temples of Ellora, where mountains themselves were transformed into monolithic expressions of devotion and skill. The Long Yumen caves leave us with a sense of anticipation, a lingering curiosity about how humans across different cultures and environments harness their intelligence, patience, and creativity to leave enduring marks upon the world. They remind us that for every civilization we study, countless techniques and knowledge may have been lost, waiting quietly beneath the surface, whispering their secrets to those who listen closely. In the stillness of these subterranean chambers, one begins to understand the subtle interplay of light, shadow, and stone that the ancients manipulated so carefully. Each passage invites contemplation, each hall encourages reverence, and each chamber resonates with the memory of effort and ingenuity. The caves are not merely physical spaces. They are experiences, carefully orchestrated encounters with the extraordinary. They challenge the observer to reconcile what is possible with what seems impossible, to hold wonder and skepticism side by side. And in this delicate balance, the true essence of the Long Yumen caves emerges, a quiet, enduring testament to human aspiration, skill, and the mysteries that persist when knowledge fades into history. As we leave the depths of the Long Yumen caves behind, the narrative rises back toward light, leading naturally to the surface monuments of India. There, in the sunlit expanses of the Ellora Hills, human hands carved temples directly from living rock, echoing the precision, ambition, and mystery we have glimpsed underground in China. The journey continues from shadow to light, from subterranean enigma to monumental revelation, carrying forward the whispering legacy of civilizations whose ingenuity still challenges and inspires us today. In the sun-drenched hills of Ellora, India, the Kailasa temple rises as a testament to vision, devotion, and human mastery over stone. Unlike other monumental structures built from assembled blocks, Kailasa was carved entirely from a single mountain, a monolithic creation that transforms rock into temple with astonishing grace. From afar, the temple appears almost as if it grew organically from the hillside, its terraces, pillars, and courtyards cascading like frozen waterfalls. Yet closer inspection reveals the depth of human intention. Every carving, every detail, every proportion was carefully planned, revealing a culture deeply attuned to both aesthetics and spiritual symbolism. The very act of creating such a structure seems to defy logic, for it required removing vast quantities of stone, an estimated 200,000 tons, without modern machinery, leaving a structure of both delicate intricacy and immense scale. As one moves through the temple, the sheer scope of the endeavor becomes palpable. The courtyards open into halls supported by pillars carved with precision, each etched with depictions of deities, celestial beings, and mythological narratives. The reliefs are not merely decorative. They convey stories, beliefs, and a cosmological vision, embedding meaning into the very stone. Walking along the terraces, the observer can sense the rhythm of creation. The careful progression from the outer courtyard to the inner sanctum mirrors a journey from the earthly realm into the divine. This spatial and spiritual layering demonstrates an understanding not only of architecture, but of human perception, guiding visitors through a narrative expressed entirely through form and material. The experience is meditative, encouraging quiet reflection as each step unfolds new details, each more intricate than the last. The engineering required to achieve this monumental feat is equally astonishing. Carving a temple from the top down, rather than building upward from the ground, demanded extraordinary planning and foresight. Workers had to anticipate the final shape of each pillar, wall, and sculpture before removing a single ton of stone. Mistakes were unforgiving. A miscalculation could compromise the integrity of the structure or ruin a section of artwork. The precision suggests not only technical skill, but a disciplined understanding of geometry, balance, and material properties. Scholars and engineers today study Kailasa with awe, attempting to reconstruct the methods used, yet the temple continues to resist full explanation. How could ancient artisans remove such massive amounts of rock while preserving the delicate forms and proportions of the temple? How did they coordinate efforts over decades, possibly centuries, to maintain consistency in style and scale? These questions linger, inviting contemplation rather than answers. Kailasa is not just a physical monument. It is a spiritual one. The temple is dedicated to Shiva, one of Hinduism's principal deities, and its design reflects profound religious and cosmological symbolism. The vertical progression of the temple mirrors Mount Meru, the mythical center of the universe in Hindu cosmology, while its carvings depict stories that connect humans, gods, and the cosmos. Every niche, every sculpture, every courtyard serves both an aesthetic and a spiritual purpose, blending art, devotion, and architectural mastery into a single, harmonious whole. In this way, Kailasa transcends mere construction. It becomes a bridge between the material and the divine, an invitation to perceive the world not only with the eyes, but with the mind and spirit. The surrounding landscape enhances the temple's presence. The rugged Ellora Hills, with their rocky slopes and scattered vegetation, form a natural amphitheater, emphasizing the grandeur of the monolithic temple. In the early morning, the sun casts long shadows across the carved surfaces, highlighting the depth of reliefs and the precision of each cut. The interplay of light and shadow changes throughout the day, creating a dynamic experience that engages the senses and reinforces the temple's living quality. Unlike static monuments, Kailasa interacts with its environment, responding to sunlight, wind, and the movement of clouds, reminding us that it was conceived not only as a human creation, but as part of the natural world. As the narrative drifts inward, attention turns to the human endeavor required to complete such a feat. The temple's creation must have involved generations of artisans, planners, and laborers, each contributing skill and knowledge. Their methods, largely undocumented, remain a source of fascination and speculation. Did they use simple tools with extraordinary patience, or were their techniques now lost to time? The scale and precision suggest a combination of ingenuity, collaboration, and vision that transcends ordinary labor. Every carved pillar, every intricate relief, every smooth wall is evidence of a civilization capable of harmonizing technical mastery with artistic and spiritual expression, leaving behind a structure that continues to inspire awe. Kailasa also invites reflection on the universality of human ambition. Across continents and eras, we see civilizations transforming raw materials into extraordinary works. The pyramids of Egypt, the megaliths of South America, the caves of China, all share a common thread of ambition, skill, and mystery. Kailasa, in its monolithic elegance, embodies these same principles, suggesting that humans, regardless of culture or geography, are compelled to create, to mark existence, and to bridge the gap between the temporal and the eternal. The temple's form and function demonstrate an intimate understanding of both human experience and the natural world, reminding us that ancient artisans often combined intellect, intuition, and devotion in ways that continue to challenge modern assumptions about their capabilities. As the sun dips low, bathing the temple in warm hues of amber and gold, Kailasa takes on a serene and almost otherworldly character. Shadows stretch across the carved surfaces, revealing details previously unnoticed and emphasizing the depth of artistry embedded in stone. The air is filled with the scent of earth and stone, mingling with the quiet rustle of wind through nearby trees. In this moment, Kailasa becomes more than architecture. It is an experience, a story written in rock, a meditation on human aspiration and divine connection. It stands as both a monument to what humans can achieve and a reminder that some mysteries endure, waiting for observers to marvel without necessarily understanding. From Ellora, the journey moves across oceans to the distant shores of Easter Island, where another culture, isolated and remote, produced monuments that echo Kailasa's ambition and precision in a vastly different form. The comparison highlights the universality of human creativity and the enduring fascination with monuments that surpass the apparent capabilities of their builders. Kailasa serves as a bridge, connecting the subterranean precision of the Long Yumen caves with the monolithic and ceremonial intentions of other ancient constructions. It embodies the intersection of skill, devotion, and mystery, guiding the audience onward in a contemplative journey across time and space. And so, the Kailasa temple remains, carved from living rock, eternal in both form and inspiration. It stands not merely as a testament to human ingenuity, but as an invitation to reflect on the persistence of curiosity, the pursuit of perfection, and the mysteries that lie just beyond comprehension. It reminds us that every civilization leaves behind not only physical traces, but whispers of imagination, vision, and devotion, encouraging future generations to pause, to wonder, and to honor the silent dialogues between stone, earth, and human endeavor. Far out in the vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean lies Easter Island, a remote speck of land shrouded in mystery, where time seems to have slowed, leaving behind monuments that watch silently over the landscape. The Moai, the island's iconic stone statues, rise from the earth like guardians of a forgotten past, their elongated faces etched with an expression both solemn and enigmatic. Each figure, carved from volcanic tuff, carries the weight of centuries and the legacy of a civilization whose methods and motives continue to puzzle the modern world. From a moment one sets eyes on these silent sentinels, a sense of awe and quiet contemplation settles in. The feeling that these figures are more than mere stone, that they possess the memory and dignity of a people long vanished. The creation of the Moai presents one of the greatest enigmas of human history. These statues vary in size, with some towering over 30 feet tall and weighing as much as 80 tons. Transporting them from the quarries of Reino Raraku to distant ceremonial platforms, sometimes miles away, remains a subject of intense debate. Theories abound, from rolling the statues on logs to walking them upright in a coordinated rocking motion. Yet no single explanation fully satisfies the imagination. Each method implies extraordinary coordination, planning, and strength. The precision with which the Moai were moved, set upright, and balanced without modern tools demonstrates not only technical ingenuity, but also an intimate understanding of physics and human potential. The more we study them, the more their silent presence defies the limits of what we assume ancient societies could achieve. Walking among the statues, one is struck by their individuality. Each Moai possesses distinct facial features, expressions, and even subtle asymmetries, suggesting that they were crafted with care to represent specific ancestors or important figures. The Moai are not mere monuments. They are vessels of memory and cultural identity, a bridge between the living and the spiritual, between the islanders and the land that sustained them. The positioning of the statues, facing inland toward the villages, indicates a watchful guardianship, a perpetual presence meant to oversee and protect. This spatial arrangement underscores the profound relationship between people, place, and stone, a relationship that speaks to both devotion and ritual, and to an understanding of influence that extends beyond life into legacy. The scale and density of the Moai complicate the mystery further. Reino Raraku alone houses hundreds of unfinished statues, their forms frozen mid-carve, revealing the techniques employed by the carvers. Deep grooves and chisel marks offer tantalizing clues, yet they do not fully explain the monumental effort required to free these figures from bedrock and transport them. It is a testament to human patience and persistence that these statues, each so massive, were carefully shaped, smoothed, and lifted into place. The repetition of such effort across an entire island suggests a society highly organized, capable of mobilizing labor, knowledge, and cultural focus in ways that leave a profound impression on anyone who witnesses the result. The Moai also embody a silent dialogue with nature. Positioned strategically across the island, they integrate with the volcanic terrain, overlooking valleys, ridges, and the distant ocean. Some theories suggest astronomical alignments, though the evidence remains debated. Nevertheless, Their placement conveys an awareness of the landscape that transcends simple construction, suggesting intentionality and knowledge of the environment. The statues are both objects of art and instruments of meaning, engaging with the land in ways that resonate centuries later. They are reminders that ancient societies often combined spiritual, social, and environmental knowledge to create works that endure far beyond their immediate function. Equally compelling is the mystery of their disappearance and the decline of the society that built them. When European explorers arrived centuries later, many statues have been toppled and much of the cultural context have been lost. Yet the resilience of the Moai speaks to the sophistication of their creators. Even in decay, they command attention and evoke a quiet reflection on the impermanence of civilizations and the endurance of human aspiration. Standing among them, one senses a profound tension. The statues are at once enduring and fragile, monumental and vulnerable, silent yet eloquent. Their presence encourages contemplation, a meditation on what remains when knowledge is lost but physical testimony persists. The Moai also evoke parallels with other ancient constructions worldwide. From the massive monoliths of South America to the carved temples of Ellora, we see recurring themes: extraordinary effort, technical skill, spiritual significance, and the creation of meaning through scale and form. While geographically isolated, Easter Island shares with these civilizations an impulse to leave an indelible mark upon the earth, to reach across time, and to communicate through stone. The Moai, in their silent vigilance, become a universal symbol of human creativity, patience, and mystery, a reminder that across continents and eras, humans have sought to transform the natural world into expressions of identity, devotion, and wonder. As the sun dips toward the horizon, casting long shadows across the volcanic plains, the Moai transform in the warm glow. Their features, carved with such care, become both more intimate and more imposing. One imagines the ceremonies that may have taken place in their presence, the chants, the rituals, the celebrations of life and memory. The ambient silence amplifies the sense of connection across time, a quiet meditation on the human capacity for ingenuity and reverence. In the stillness, the statues almost seem to breathe, not with life, but with the accumulated effort, intention, and belief of generations who shaped them. Leaving Easter Island, one carries with them the lingering weight of the Moai, the realization that human hands, guided by vision, belief, and community, can achieve what seems impossible. These statues, silent and enduring, set the stage for the next leg of our journey, leading toward the architectural enigmas of the Mediterranean, the megaliths of Europe, and the stone sanctuaries of distant continents. Each site carries its own story, yet all share a common thread: humanity's ceaseless drive to create, to endure, and to leave a legacy that challenges our understanding, inspires our imagination, and invites contemplation across centuries. The Moai remind us that even in isolation, with limited resources and technology, humans have achieved extraordinary feats. Their silent faces challenge modern assumptions about the capabilities of ancient societies, asking us to reconsider what is possible when vision and determination converge. They are guardians of history, memory, and mystery, inviting all who encounter them to pause, reflect, and marvel at the ingenuity that transcends time. And as we turn away from the cliffs and plains of Easter Island, the journey continues, carrying the quiet wisdom of these stone sentinels forward into the lands of Europe, the Middle East, and Asia, where yet more ancient constructions await our contemplation. In the rolling plains of southern England, where mist often drapes the landscape in soft gray veils, Stonehenge rises as a timeless sentinel, a circle of shadows and light that has captivated human imagination for millennia. From a distance, the massive stones appear as silhouettes against the sky, simple yet enigmatic, their presence both imposing and serene. But as one approaches, the scale and precision of the construction become apparent. Each sarsen stone, some weighing over 20 tons, is positioned with deliberate care, and the smaller blue stones, transported from distant Wales, are arranged in patterns that suggest more than mere utility. Stonehenge is not simply a monument. It is a complex dialogue with the natural world, the heavens, and human perception, a silent testimony to a society that understood both the physical and the metaphysical. The mystery of Stonehenge begins with its construction. Scholars have long debated the methods by which prehistoric peoples transported the stones across hundreds of miles, often over difficult terrain. Did they use logs as rollers, sledges lubricated with water or animal fat, or ingenious levers and ropes? And how did they position the massive stones upright, some forming lintels that required precise engineering to achieve stability? Despite extensive research, no definitive answer fully satisfies the imagination. Each explanation seems plausible yet incomplete, leaving the monument shrouded in a quiet, persistent enigma. Stonehenge is at once a practical achievement and a challenge to our understanding, a place where human ingenuity meets the inexplicable. Moving through the circle, one senses an extraordinary alignment with the sun, particularly during solstices. The orientation of the stones allows light to penetrate specific gaps at precise moments, illuminating the inner circle in a dance of shadow and radiance. This suggests a sophisticated understanding of astronomy, an ability to track celestial cycles, and a symbolic integration of human activity with the rhythms of nature. The builders of Stonehenge may have sought to mark time, honor seasonal change, or create a sacred space where the terrestrial and celestial intersect. The circle itself becomes a lens through which to observe the cosmos, a monument not only to human skill, but to the human desire to connect with something greater than ourselves. The scale and geometry of Stonehenge continue to inspire awe. The arrangement of stones demonstrates careful planning, symmetry, and a mastery of balance that defies the primitive tools assumed to have been available. Each sarsen stone is precisely shaped, while the lintels are meticulously positioned to maintain structural integrity over millennia. Even the smaller blue stones, carried from distant quarries, are set in patterns that reflect aesthetic, symbolic, and possibly acoustic considerations. Some researchers suggest that the stones were chosen for their resonance, creating subtle sound effects when struck, adding another layer of sensory engagement to the monument. In these details, we glimpse the ingenuity of a civilization capable of merging function, ritual, and artistry in a single enduring work. Stonehenge also invites reflection on human ambition and communal effort. The labor required to quarry, transport, shape, and erect the stones would have been immense, demanding coordination, knowledge, and endurance. This was not the work of individuals alone. It was a collective achievement, a shared endeavor that likely carried social, spiritual, and cultural significance. The monument's enduring presence speaks to the organizational skills and vision of its creators, whose ingenuity has left a puzzle for modern observers to decode. Stonehenge embodies the paradox of human creation. The stones are immovable yet speak volumes, silent yet eloquent, rooted in the earth yet aligned with the heavens. As one moves around the circle, the surrounding landscape comes into focus, enhancing the sense of purpose embedded in the site. Nearby earthworks, burial mounds, and avenues suggest that Stonehenge was part of a broader ceremonial landscape, a network of sacred spaces that connected communities to one another and to the natural and cosmic order. The monument's placement on the Salisbury Plain may reflect not only practicality, but symbolic resonance, aligning with rivers, hills, and other natural features that were significant to its builders. The harmony between structure and environment underscores a deep understanding of the world, one that merges observation, ritual, and artistic expression into a single, cohesive experience. Despite centuries of study, Stonehenge retains its aura of mystery. Archaeologists have uncovered evidence of multiple construction phases, yet questions about the purpose, methods, and cultural context remain open. Was it a burial site, an astronomical observatory, a ceremonial gathering place, or all of these at once? Each stone, each alignment, each footprint of labor tells part of the story, yet the full narrative escapes us, leaving room for contemplation and wonder. The monument's ability to provoke such reflection across generations is perhaps its greatest achievement, a bridge between human curiosity and the enduring unknown. The interplay of light and shadow at Stonehenge creates a contemplative atmosphere that encourages quiet observation and reflection. Early morning mists or the glow of the setting sun can transform the stones into a landscape of shifting forms, where solidity meets the ephemeral. In these moments, the circle feels alive, as though resonating with the presence of those who labored, worshipped, and observed centuries ago. The stones become not only witnesses to history, but participants in an ongoing dialogue, a meditation on time, memory, and human aspiration. They remind us that even in simplicity, structures can carry profound meaning, communicating across centuries in a language of form, scale, and placement. Stonehenge connects naturally with other ancient constructions around the world. Its alignment with celestial cycles echoes the astronomical awareness seen at the pyramids of Egypt and the monolithic structures of South America. Its communal construction mirrors the efforts required for Sacsayhuaman, Baalbek, and Ellora. Across cultures and continents, humans have sought to shape stone into forms that transcend the ordinary, creating spaces that combine utility, ritual, and mystery. Stonehenge is a quintessential expression of this impulse, a locus where engineering, observation, and imagination converge to produce something timeless, enigmatic, and profoundly human. As the day fades and evening settles over the plains, Stonehenge stands bathed in gentle twilight, the stones casting long, silent shadows across the grass. The monument's presence is both commanding and meditative, inviting visitors to pause and reflect on the ingenuity, perseverance, and mystery of its creators. In the quiet, one can imagine the solstices celebrated, the ceremonies performed, and the human aspiration that shaped each stone into a lasting testament. The circle remains a threshold between past and present, known and unknown, fact and wonder, urging contemplation as we continue our journey through the most astonishing constructions of the ancient world. Under the vast sky of Maharashtra, India, a mountain breathes in stone and silence. From within its heart rises something extraordinary, the Kailasa Temple of Ellora. It is not built, but born, carved entirely from a single rock, as if the earth itself chose to reveal a cathedral hidden in its core. When you first gaze upon it, the mind falters, unable to comprehend that this massive structure, with its shrines, towers, corridors, and sculptures, was not assembled piece by piece, but released from the living mountain, one chisel strike at a time. The story of Kailasa begins in the 8th century, under the reign of King Krishna I of the Rashtrakuta dynasty. According to legend, the king's queen fell gravely ill and vowed to build a temple dedicated to Lord Shiva if she were cured. Her wish came true, and the king ordered its creation. But the artisans faced an impossible task. The temple was to be built swiftly before the queen broke her vow. Traditional methods, building upward from the foundation, would take decades. So they reversed the process. Instead of stacking stone upon stone, they began from the top of the mountain and carved downward, freeing the structure from the basalt like a sculpture emerging from a block of marble. This feat remains one of the most astonishing achievements in architectural history. Nearly 400,000 tons of rock are believed to have been removed, not with modern drills or cranes, but with hammers and chisels. Every pillar, hall, and staircase was planned with exquisite precision so that the temple, though carved vertically, emerged perfectly symmetrical. Its scale is breathtaking. The courtyard stretches over 270 feet long and 150 feet wide, surrounded by galleries and shrines that house intricate carvings of gods, guardians, and mythical creatures. Imagine the sound of tools echoing through the basalt cliffs. Hundreds of artisans working in unison, guided by geometry and faith. There are no records of how they achieved such accuracy, no blueprints that explain how they mapped the temple's proportions while descending into the stone. Each blow of the chisel was irreversible. A single mistake could ruin the balance of the entire structure. And yet, what stands today is a marvel of harmony, a temple that feels less constructed than conjured. When the morning sun strikes the courtyard, the temple glows like fire caught in stone. The central shrine, dedicated to Lord Shiva, rises beneath an open sky, its spire reaching upward in silent devotion. Around it, detailed friezes tell stories from the Ramayana and Mahabharata. Lions, elephants, and celestial dancers appear to move as the light shifts across their faces. Each carving is alive with grace, as if the sculptors breathed movement into stillness. The play of shadow and form makes the temple seem to pulse with an inner rhythm, a heartbeat left in the rock by its makers. Modern archaeologists continue to puzzle over how such an immense project was executed with tools that seem, by comparison, almost primitive. Some estimate that it would have taken over 100 years of continuous labor, yet historical records suggest it was completed in a mere 2 decades. The precision of the cuts, the smoothness of the surfaces, and the alignment of structure suggest not just artistry, but a deep understanding of mathematics and engineering. Still, the techniques remain a mystery. Did the builders possess lost knowledge of stone removal, or were they guided by an intuition honed through centuries of observation? The answers lie buried somewhere in the basalt dust. Legends, as always, offer their own truths. Some stories say the temple was built by celestial beings, by gods, or by architects guided by divine hands. Others whisper that it was carved by a single miraculous artisan overnight. Of course, these are myths, yet they reveal something profound: the human need to frame the impossible in the language of wonder. For the people who witnessed Kailasa's creation, it must have felt like a miracle, a vision of heaven descending upon the earth. Inside the temple, time seems suspended. The echo of footsteps fades into deep stillness. Cool air carries the faint scent of stone and incense. Shafts of light spill through openings, illuminating carvings that shimmer like memory itself. Here, faith and geometry intertwine, devotion made tangible through design. The temple does not only serve as a house for gods, it stands as a meditation on permanence. It asks a quiet question: how does one carve the divine out of the material world? The Kailasa temple is often compared to the great wonders of the ancient world, the pyramids of Egypt, the Parthenon of Greece, or the temples of Angkor. Yet there is something uniquely introspective about it. The others reach upward toward the sky, built layer upon layer in pursuit of the heavens. Kailasa does the opposite. It moves inward, downward, into the heart of the earth, as though seeking the divine within. It suggests that enlightenment is not an ascent, but a descent, a journey into the depths of creation itself. Over the centuries, the temple has withstood invasions, earthquakes, and the relentless weathering of time. Its details have softened, but its spirit remains untouched. Even today, when visitors stand before it, they often fall silent, not merely out of respect, but from a sense of recognition. There is something ancient within us that understands this language of stone, something that feels the resonance of purpose that guided those unknown hands. Science can measure the weight of the stones, the dimensions of the walls, and the chemical composition of the basalt, but it cannot measure devotion. It cannot quantify the patience of those who carve day after day under the sun, turning raw earth into sacred art. That is what lingers, not just a question of how, but why? Why such effort? Why such precision for something that cannot be seen from afar, that hides within a mountain's body? Perhaps the builders knew that beauty, when made in silence, becomes eternal. The Kailasa temple is not a monument to human pride, but to humility, to the idea that the divine can be revealed not by conquest, but by surrendering to creation. As night falls over Ellora, the temple glows faintly beneath the moon. Shadows pool in its courtyards, and the air hums with ancient energy. The carvings seem to breathe, their edges softened by time, but their presence undiminished. The mountain stands whole once more, yet within it, a masterpiece waits, silent, vast, and inscrutable. A reminder that sometimes the greatest mysteries are not hidden above the stars, but deep within the earth, where human hands once listened to the stone and the stone answered. Long before the pyramids touched the desert sky or Stonehenge caught the dawn, a circle of stones rose from the hills of southeastern Turkey. Buried for thousands of years beneath layers of dust and time, Göbekli Tepe was discovered in the 1990s, an archaeological revelation that shook the foundations of what we thought we knew about civilization itself. Here, on this quiet rise overlooking the plains, stands a temple older than cities, older than writing, older even than the invention of the wheel. It whispers of a time when humanity had not yet learned to plant grain or tame animals, and yet, somehow, found the will to build something sacred. At first glance, Göbekli Tepe appears almost simple, great stone circles, each formed by towering T-shaped pillars, some more than 16 feet tall and weighing up to 20 tons. But the deeper you look, the more it becomes clear that this place was the work of visionaries. Each pillar was shaped from limestone using primitive tools, hauled from nearby quarries, and erected in carefully arranged enclosures. Many bear intricate carvings: foxes, snakes, wild boars, vultures, animals that once roamed the region freely, now frozen in silent procession around the stones. These carvings are not decorative. They are deliberate, filled with meaning that is yet to be fully understood. Archaeologists estimate Göbekli Tepe to be over 11,000 years old, built around 9,500 BCE, thousands of years before the rise of Sumer or Egypt. This makes it the oldest known monumental structure ever discovered. But it is not merely its age that astounds scholars. It is what it implies. The people who built it were hunter-gatherers, not settled farmers. They had no cities, no agriculture, and no writing. Yet they organized labor, moved megaliths, and carved symbolic art with astonishing skill. How could a society without permanent settlements have achieved such a monumental task? For decades, historians believe that agriculture gave rise to religion, that once humans learned to farm and live together in villages, temples and organized belief systems followed. Göbekli Tepe turns that idea upside down. Here, it seems, the opposite may be true. Religion, or perhaps something deeper, a shared sense of cosmic meaning, may have been the force that brought people together, inspiring the very beginnings of civilization. The builders may have gathered seasonally from across the region, uniting for rituals, ceremonies, and feasts beneath the stars. The act of constructing something sacred could have been what gave birth to the first sparks of community, language, and cooperation. Imagine the scene: the cold Anatolian night, a circle of firelight flickering against the great pillars. The scent of roasted meat and crushed herbs fills the air. Figures gather in the shadows, faces lit by flame, their songs rising into the darkness. Around them, the carved animals seem alive, guardians of a world between earth and sky. This was not merely construction, it was communion, a ritual performed by hands that believed they were shaping the world into balance. And then, as suddenly as it appeared, the site was deliberately buried. Sometime around 8000 BCE, its creators filled the enclosures with rubble and sand, sealing the temple as though to protect it or to hide it. Why? No one knows. Some suggest it was a symbolic gesture, marking the end of an era as people transitioned to farming and village life. Others believe it may have been part of a cyclical tradition to build, worship, and then return the earth to silence. Whatever the reason, this act preserved the site in extraordinary condition, allowing it to survive untouched for millennia beneath the hillside. The pillars themselves tell stories without words. Their T-shapes are thought to represent human forms, stylized, abstract figures with arms and hands carved along the sides. Some face inward, others outward, as if presiding over ceremonies we can only imagine. One central pillar bears the carving of a vulture beside a headless human figure, perhaps symbolizing death and rebirth, or the journey of the soul. Another shows a fox slinking beneath a series of geometric symbols, its meaning lost but tantalizingly close to understanding. Each enclosure seems to have been aligned to celestial events, hinting at an early knowledge of the stars. As researchers uncover more, Göbekli Tepe becomes both clearer and more mysterious. Its builders vanish into prehistory, their names, languages, and stories erased by time. All that remains is stone, shaped with patience and devotion. Some theorists have suggested that the site may preserve knowledge from a forgotten civilization, one that predated recorded history. Others remain grounded in archaeology, yet even they admit, this place changes everything. It forces us to reconsider when and why humanity began to build, to worship, to dream beyond survival. The physical effort alone boggles the imagination. To move stones of such size without metal tools or wheels would require careful planning, coordination, and a profound shared purpose. It suggests a level of social complexity far beyond what we once believed existed in the 10th millennium BCE. Was Göbekli Tepe the result of genius scattered among early tribes, or the echo of something older still, a remnant of forgotten knowledge passed down from an earlier age? Beneath the layers of science and speculation, there is a quiet poetry to this place. It tells of the first time humans looked at the sky and felt small, yet chose not to bow in fear, but to build in reverence. Göbekli Tepe is not just the earliest known temple. It is the first known question carved in stone. What is our place in the cosmos? Who shaped the world before us? What lies beyond the visible? These are questions that outlive the builders and remain alive in the stones themselves. Modern visitors who stand among the excavated circles describe a strange sensation, a mix of awe and unease. The air feels charged, heavy with memory. The carvings seem to watch, as though aware. In that silence, surrounded by ancient geometry, one feels the thinness of time, how the distance between them and us collapses into a single heartbeat. These stones are not relics of a primitive past. They are mirrors, reflecting the timeless human desire to understand. Science continues to excavate, measure, and analyze, but the essence of Göbekli Tepe resists full translation. It lives in the space between fact and faith, between archaeology and dream. Every discovery here deepens the mystery rather than resolves it. In that way, it serves its original purpose even now, a temple not of answers, but of wonder. As night falls over the Turkish plains, the horizon glows faintly beneath a field of stars. The wind moves softly over the stones, whispering through the gaps of pillars that have not felt human hands for 10,000 years. And somewhere in that quiet expanse, the same impulse that stirred our ancestors stirs again. To look upward, to seek meaning, to build something that will outlast time. Göbekli Tepe is not merely the dawn of civilization. It is the echo of humanity awakening to itself. A reminder that before we learn to write, to farm, or to rule, we learn to revere, to shape the invisible into form, to give spirit a place to rest. And even now, thousands of years later, as we peer into its depths by torchlight and science, the temple remains what it always was, a riddle carved in stone, asking a question too ancient to answer, but too beautiful to forget. Across the vast emptiness of the Pacific Ocean, far from the known routes of empires and explorers, lies an island wrapped in mist and legend. Here, on the eastern shore of Pohnpei in Micronesia, the waves whisper against black stone walls, remnants of a city that should not exist, at least not here, not in this way. This is Nan Madol, a labyrinth of canals and megalithic structures built upon coral reefs. Often called the Venice of the Pacific, it stands as one of the strangest and most haunting achievements of the ancient world, a place science struggles to explain and myth insists was built by sorcery. Nanmadol consists of nearly 100 small islets, each carefully constructed from massive basalt logs, stacked horizontally like giant pillars of charcoal. These dark, hexagonal stones, some weighing as much as 50 tons, form walls, foundations, and platforms, creating an interconnected city that seems to float upon the sea. Between the structures flow narrow canals, where water glimmers under the moonlight and echoes carry far. Walking through Nanmadol today feels like wandering through a dream, a city that drifts somewhere between the natural and the impossible. Archaeologists believe the city was the ceremonial and political center of the Sotalur dynasty, which ruled Pohnpei for centuries before European contact. But when and how it was first built remains uncertain. Some radiocarbon dating suggests construction may have begun as early as the 8th or 9th century CE. Yet even this relatively recent date fails to explain how such massive stones were quarried, transported, and arranged across coral foundations without modern tools, cranes, or mortar. There are no mountains of basalt nearby. The closest quarry lies miles away, across rugged terrain and ocean currents. How could a small island population, with no evidence of iron or wheel transport, have achieved this feat? Some researchers propose that rafts and rollers were used, though the logistics defy comprehension. The stone's size and uniformity suggest a degree of planning and engineering knowledge unusual for the time and place. To many, it feels as if the builders were guided by something we no longer understand, an intuition of balance, weight, and form that modern eyes find hard to grasp. Local legends offer their own answers. According to ancient Pohnpeian mythology, Nanmadol was founded by twin sorcerers, Olasopa and Olasipa, who came from a distant land across the sea. They were said to possess the power to move stones through the air with the aid of magic or by chanting to the spirits. These brothers established the city as a dwelling place for high priests and kings, a center of ritual power and cosmic alignment. The basalt itself was said to be alive, listening to the invocations of the builders. Whether viewed as myth or metaphor, the story captures a truth that archaeology alone cannot. That Nanmadol was built in service of something sacred. Wandering among its ruins today, one feels the presence of that old reverence. The air is heavy with salt and silence. Waves lap softly at the edges of basalt platforms that rise from the water like the foundations of a forgotten fortress. In the fading light, the black stones seem to absorb the sunset, glowing faintly as the tide creeps higher. The structures are arranged in a pattern of order and mystery. Rectangular enclosures, ritual courtyards, and burial tombs now reclaimed by mangroves. One islet, known as Nandoas, holds the tombs of the Sotalur kings, enclosed by walls nearly 30 feet high. When explorers first uncovered it, they found human bones still resting within, wrapped in layers of coral and time. Unlike other great ruins of the world, the pyramids, the temples, the monuments carved in desert stone, Nanmadol is built upon water. This unique setting transforms the city into something both fragile and eternal. The sound of the ocean is constant, a heartbeat that never fades. In daylight, the canals shimmer in shades of turquoise and shadow. By night, the stars reflect in their surfaces, making it difficult to tell where the sky ends and the water begins. It is a place that seems to breathe, alive, waiting. Some modern researchers have compared the site's construction to Polynesian or Southeast Asian techniques, suggesting that Nanmadol's builders may have been part of a broader web of maritime cultures that shared knowledge across islands. Yet there is no definitive evidence linking it to any other civilization. Its architecture is unique, megalithic, geometric, and strangely industrial. Unlike anything else in the Pacific, it stands apart, an isolated masterpiece of unknown origin. Over the centuries, the city became a symbol of both grandeur and downfall. The Sotalur rulers who once commanded from its basalt walls grew increasingly tyrannical, according to oral history. Their reign ended with the arrival of another mysterious figure, Isoklikal, who came from across the sea to overthrow them. After that, Nan Madol was gradually abandoned, its canals silting over, its walls overtaken by vines. The ocean claimed what humanity left behind. Today, the islanders regard the ruins with a mix of pride and caution. Some say it is still haunted, that spirits dwell in its dark channels, watching from beneath the waves. Locals often avoid entering the site after sunset. For scientists, Nan Madol represents an enigma of engineering. For the Pohnpeian people, it is a living memory. Perhaps both are true. To stand among those basalt columns is to sense the convergence of worlds, logic and legend intertwined like tide and moonlight. The stones speak of a civilization that understood the ocean not as a barrier, but as a road, that saw in the sea a mirror of the cosmos. Each canal and wall seems positioned with care, aligned with unseen rhythms of tide and star. In the humid stillness, surrounded by mangroves and whispers, you might feel a strange sense of familiarity, as though humanity has been here before, building cities that rise and sink, guided by the same longing for permanence in a world of motion. Nan Madol feels less like a ruin and more like an echo, the memory of a civilization that dreamed of bridging earth and water, matter and myth. Some have called it the last remnant of a lost continent, linking it to the legends of Lemuria or Mu, fabled lands said to have sunk beneath the Pacific. Though science finds no evidence for such continents, the imagery persists. There is something about this place that invites imagination, as if the stones themselves encourage it. Standing at the edge of a canal, you might watch the water ripple and wonder whether the builders, too, gazed into these reflections, seeing not their own faces, but something eternal staring back. Today, the site is recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Treasure, yet much of it remains unstudied. Thick vegetation hides entire sectors of the complex, and underwater ruins suggest the city may once have extended even farther into the sea. Perhaps the ocean has already swallowed parts of its story, leaving us only fragments, clues that stir curiosity but never resolve it. Nan Madol endures as both artifact and allegory, a reminder that even the most enduring civilizations eventually return to silence. As dusk descends over Pohnpei, the tide rises to kiss the edges of basalt walls. The jungle hums softly behind, and the scent of salt thickens in the air. The last light catches the water, turning the canals to gold. In that tranquil moment, the city feels timeless, a secret suspended between past and present. The waves murmur against stone, repeating a story only the sea remembers. Nan Madol remains an unanswered question etched into the Pacific, a city adrift between worlds, built by hands we no longer understand, for reasons we can only feel. Perhaps it was never meant to be fully known. Some places are meant not to reveal themselves, but to remind us how much mystery still lives in the world, and how, beneath the surface of time, the stones still dream. In the vast, wind-swept expanse of the South Pacific, far from the bustling continents of the world, rises a small, solitary island shaped like a sleeping sloth. This is Rapa Nui, known to the wider world as Easter Island, a place where the earth itself seems to hold its breath and where the horizon stretches endlessly, meeting sky in quiet contemplation. Here, scattered across volcanic slopes and grassy plains, stand nearly 1,000 monumental statues, the moai, carved from volcanic tuff centuries ago. They are silent sentinels, their elongated heads gazing toward the interior of the island, their backs to the sea, watching over a land that has long since lost the people who created them. The moai are immense, some reaching over 30 feet tall, others weighing as much as 80 tons. Each one is unique, with subtle differences in facial expression, posture, and carving style, yet together they form a rhythm across the island that feels deliberate and almost musical. These statues were not merely decorative. They were imbued with spiritual significance, representing ancestors, chiefs, or deities. The Rapa Nui believed that the Moai held a sacred force called mana, a kind of spiritual energy capable of protecting and sustaining the community. In essence, each statue was both a guardian and a vessel, linking the living to the spirits of the past. The process of creating and transporting the Moai is a story that defies simple explanation. The stone was quarried at Reino Ruraku, a volcanic crater, where dozens of unfinished statues remain, frozen in mid-creation, giving the impression that the builders simply left them suspended in stone. Once carved, the statues were moved across the island to their ceremonial platforms, the ahu, using methods that remain a subject of debate. Some researchers suggest ropes, logs, and sheer manpower. Others propose a walking technique, where the statues were rocked from side to side, inching forward over days. Regardless of the method, it is a feat that continues to astonish engineers and archaeologists alike, demanding a blend of ingenuity, cooperation, and ritual dedication. The Moai were erected over centuries, beginning around 1250 CE and continuing until the early 17th century. During this time, the islanders developed a complex social system, organizing labor, resources, and religious life around the creation of these statues. Yet, paradoxically, as the statues rose, the islander society also began to experience strain. Deforestation, resource depletion, and social conflict gradually eroded the foundations of their civilization. Many Moai were toppled during internecine warfare, leaving them lying face down as if in defeat or mourning, while others remained standing, stubbornly guarding the memory of what once was. The placement of the Moai is deeply significant. Unlike many statues in other cultures, which face outward toward visitors or enemies, the Moai face inland, toward the villages and cultivated land. This suggests that their purpose was not intimidation or grandeur, but guardianship and connection. They were meant to watch over the people, ensuring fertility of the land, prosperity, and spiritual guidance. When Europeans first arrived in 1722, they encountered a quiet, mysterious landscape. Moai scattered in fallen and standing states, the islanders few, their population already diminished. The statues' eyes, once inlaid with coral to give them life, were missing, giving the Moai a solemn, almost mournful gaze. The mystery of Easter Island deepens when we consider the island's isolation. Over 2,000 miles from the nearest inhabited land, the Rapa Nui developed a sophisticated culture in almost complete isolation. How did they transport massive statues without access to metal tools or beasts of burden? How did a small population sustain the labor, resources, and social organization necessary to erect such a monumental landscape? The answers are only partially known. Scholars continue to reconstruct the ingenuity of the Rapa Nui, imagining their coordinated efforts and rituals, yet much remains hidden beneath the tuff and soil. Legend and oral history enrich the enigma of Easter Island. The Rapa Nui believed that the Moai were animated through mana, bringing protection and blessing to the community. Each statue carried the spiritual essence of its namesake, whether a powerful ancestor or revered chief. The act of erecting a Moai was a ritual as much as an engineering challenge, with chanting, offerings, and communal labor binding the people together. In this way, the Moai were living monuments, extending beyond stone into the realm of human belief and memory. Time has not been gentle to Easter Island. Many statues lie broken, some buried up to their necks in soil. Erosion, volcanic activity, and human activity have slowly reshaped the landscape, yet the Moai remain astonishingly resilient. Modern efforts to preserve and study them have shed light on their construction, but each discovery raises further questions. How did a population so small undertake such monumental work? What precisely motivated them to carve, transport, and raise each statue? These questions linger, inviting contemplation rather than definitive answers. Walking among the Moai today, one senses a strange intimacy. The wind carries stories of human endeavor, devotion, and fragility. The statue's faces, though worn and weathered, convey a sense of purpose, even as the meaning behind their creation remains partially obscured. There is a rhythm to their presence, a silent dialogue between past and present, stone and soil, human effort and nature's reclamation. It is a place where history and mystery coexist, each enhancing the other. Easter Island reminds us that human ambition is not always measured in wealth, conquest, or power. Sometimes it is measured in devotion, in persistence, in the desire to leave a mark that speaks beyond one's lifetime. The Moai are embodiments of that impulse, monumental, enigmatic, and quietly eternal. They connect us to a people who, isolated in the middle of the ocean, dream not only of survival, but of meaning, legacy, and guardianship. As the sun sets over the Pacific horizon, the island is bathed in a soft orange glow. Shadows stretch across the plains, and the Moai stand in silent rows, facing inland, watching over a land that remembers them in whispers of wind and wave. In that quiet, one senses the island's deepest truth. The Moai were never just stone. They are the faces of human aspiration, memory, and mystery, reminders that even in solitude, we seek to create something lasting, something that reaches beyond ourselves into the unknown. As we drift from one ancient marvel to the next, a pattern begins to emerge, a rhythm of precision, ambition, and seemingly impossible accomplishment that stretches across continents and millennia. From the pyramids of Giza to the Moai of Easter Island, from the subterranean labyrinths of Derinkuyu to the floating city of Nanmadol, there's a recurring question that refuses to fade. How did humans, with the technology of their time, achieve such extraordinary feats? Scholars, engineers, and dreamers alike have long pondered this. In the quiet of speculation, a hypothesis arises that some form of lost knowledge, techniques now forgotten, or wisdom once widely shared, allowed our ancestors to transcend the limits we perceive today. The idea of lost knowledge is not new, though it remains controversial. Some researchers suggest that ancient builders had access to tools, mathematical insights, or engineering methods that have simply vanished with the passing of civilizations. Perhaps knowledge was encoded in rituals, oral traditions, or apprenticeship systems that disappeared when societies fell or shifted. It is conceivable that certain construction techniques, moving megaliths, cutting stone with such precision, or aligning structures with celestial bodies, were once common knowledge, passed down from master to apprentice, but never written, and therefore lost to history. The world these civilizations inhabited was not necessarily less sophisticated than ours. It was differently sophisticated, attuned to the materials, energies, and rhythms of their time. Consider the precision of the Great Pyramid of Giza. Modern surveys reveal its alignment to true north within fractions of a degree, its base level to within mere centimeters. Ancient Egypt lacked modern surveying instruments, yet the builders achieved what challenges engineers today. Or look at Pumapunku in Bolivia, where interlocking stones are cut with such geometric perfection that contemporary experts admit difficulty in replicating the work even with advanced tools. Across time and geography, these examples suggest a systematic mastery of physics, geometry, and material science, knowledge that seems to have disappeared, leaving only the stone as a testament to human ingenuity. The theory of lost knowledge does not claim that ancient people were somehow superhuman. Rather, it invites us to reconsider assumptions about history. Technology is often thought of as linear progress, that each generation builds upon the last. But the evidence of these constructions suggests a more cyclical or fragmented process. Perhaps civilizations rose and fell, and with them, entire libraries of practical wisdom were buried, burned, or simply forgotten. This idea gains weight when we look at the sudden emergence of monumental architecture across the globe in periods where previously no such structures existed. How did distant cultures, with no contact, develop similar feats of construction, astronomical alignment, and engineering ingenuity. The echoes are uncanny, as if the memory of an older understanding lingers in scattered fragments. Some theorists propose that these ancient achievements hint at a universal human intuition, a latent ability to understand the principles of structure, balance, and geometry without formal training. Others suggest that there might have been real, tangible techniques, now lost, that allowed for moving massive stones, precise carving, or subterranean excavation with minimal technology. Perhaps it was a combination: intuition guided by ritualized methods, refined through experience, passed across generations until disruption severed the chain. The result is the astonishing structures we encounter today, monuments to human capability that seem to defy explanation. We can see this pattern even in the alignment of monuments with the cosmos. Stonehenge, the pyramids, and Göbekli Tepe share a fascination with celestial events, solstices, equinoxes, and star positions. This knowledge implies careful observation over long periods and the ability to translate what was seen in the sky in a physical form on Earth. Did the builders stumble upon these techniques by trial and error, or were they guided by principles codified in ways we no longer understand? The answer remains elusive, suspended between science and imagination. The notion of lost knowledge also invites reflection on the fragility of human achievement. Civilizations may fall, but their creations endure, yet the context, understanding, and method behind them often vanish. In a way, stone, wood, and earth become silent witnesses to human brilliance. These remnants remind us that progress is neither guaranteed nor permanent. The knowledge of the past, once vibrant and alive, can slip beneath the sands of time, leaving only the echoes that continue to awe and puzzle us. Legends and myths from around the world also hint at forgotten wisdom. Many cultures tell of builders guided by divine instruction, craftsmen with supernatural skill, or teachers who pass knowledge directly from the heavens. While we can interpret these stories symbolically, they may also reflect a collective memory of extraordinary skill that ancient people possessed. Across cultures, there's a recognition that some achievements cannot be explained by ordinary means alone. The human hands, guided by insight now lost, created wonders that defy understanding even today. Even in modern times, these echoes influence contemporary thought. Engineers, architects, and historians return to these ancient sites with awe and curiosity, seeking patterns, methods, or principles that could be applied today. The lost knowledge hypothesis does not require mystical explanations. Rather, it emphasizes humility and openness to the ingenuity of our predecessors. It asks us to acknowledge that human history may be more complex, subtle, and capable than our textbooks suggest. In contemplating these wonders, one is struck by the balance between what we know and what we do not. Each construction, from the deep corridors of Derinkuyu to the monolithic temples of Kailasa, is a testament to human vision and perseverance, yet also a riddle. They remind us that history is not merely a linear story of progress, but a mosaic of innovation, intuition, and mystery, punctuated by moments where knowledge flares brilliantly and then disappears. These gaps invite curiosity, meditation, and reverence. Ultimately, the lost knowledge hypothesis is less about filling in historical blanks and more about awakening a sense of wonder. It asks us to approach the past not merely with questions seeking answers, but with a quiet recognition of human potential. Perhaps the real lesson is that civilization is a dialogue between what is remembered and what is forgotten, between effort and imagination. The stones, the walls, the statues, the temples. They speak not only of skill, but of aspiration, of the desire to reach beyond immediate survival, to shape the world, and to leave traces that continue to inspire. The echoes of this forgotten past are everywhere, waiting for those willing to listen. They hum in the spaces between pillars, in the weight of a basalt wall, in the silent gaze of a moai, and in the intricate carvings of Göbekli Tepe. And in listening, even in part, we may reconnect with a vision of humanity that is patient, precise, and profoundly creative, a vision that whispers across the millennia, inviting us to wonder, to dream, and perhaps to remember. Across deserts, oceans, mountains, and jungles, the remnants of ancient civilization speak not only through stone and mortar, but through a quieter, almost intangible presence. These are the whispers of the builders themselves, echoes of hands that shaped stone, sweat that carved wood, and minds that imagined impossibilities long before modern technology. In walking through the ruins of the Great Pyramid, or tracing the labyrinthine tunnels of Derinkuyu, or standing before the monolithic Moai of Easter Island, one senses more than construction. One feels intention, devotion, and a dialogue with time itself. Each structure becomes not merely a historical artifact, but a conversation between the past and present, between human ambition and the natural world. The spirit of the builders emerges from the extraordinary care embedded in their work. Consider the effort to move massive stones across rough terrain, to carve intricate details into rock, or to align massive structures with celestial events. Each action reflects a combination of skill, knowledge, and a reverence for forces beyond human control. The sun, the stars, the tides, and the earth itself. The builders understood not only the physical properties of their materials, but also the symbolic weight of their actions. Every chiseled line and every carefully placed stone was a statement, a commitment to purpose, a mark of presence, a reminder that their labor mattered. Yet beyond skill lies an even more compelling force: vision. These builders were dreamers as much as craftsmen. The Great Pyramid is not merely a tomb. It is a monument to geometry, proportion, and cosmic alignment. Stonehenge is more than a circle of rock. It is a calendar, a temple, a symbol of humanity's desire to understand the rhythms of the universe. Kailasa Temple is more than architecture. It is devotion carved from living rock, a bridge between the divine and the mortal. Each structure represents a thought projected into matter, an attempt to translate human consciousness into enduring form. There's also a humbling humility in their creations. Many of these structures, from the submerged terraces of Yonaguni to the floating platforms of Nanmadol, exist in harmony with their environment. They do not dominate. They converse with the landscape, respecting natural forms while subtly bending them to human vision. Even the Moai, which seem to stand as guardians over the island, maintain a quiet dignity, observing rather than imposing. These works suggest that the builders did not seek merely to impress, but to participate in a larger dialogue with the world around them. Perhaps most profoundly, the builders left behind something beyond stone. They left questions. They created puzzles that invite contemplation, forcing each generation to reckon with the limits of its own understanding. How were these massive stones moved with such precision? How did they achieve alignment with celestial bodies long before modern instruments? What motivated societies to devote decades of labor to structures that sometimes served no immediate practical purpose? These questions endure, and it is in their persistence that the builder's spirit lives on. They challenge us not only to marvel, but to engage, to imagine, to wonder, and in doing so, to connect across the centuries. The communal nature of many ancient projects further illuminates the human spirit behind them. These were not solitary achievements. They were collective endeavors, requiring cooperation, organization, and shared purpose. The construction of the pyramids, the alignment of Stonehenge, the monolithic carving at Kailasa, and the subterranean expansion of Derinkuyu all demanded societies that could unify skill, vision, and labor. The act of building became an expression of social cohesion, ritual, and identity, a way of saying, we exist, we endure, and we understand the world together. Time has not been entirely kind to these creations. Earthquakes topple, rivers shift, weather erodes, and humans sometimes destroy. Yet the very survival of so many structures speaks to the enduring quality of what was built. Even in decay, there is beauty. Even in ruin, there is instruction. Each collapse, or weathering invites reflection on impermanence, reminding us that while the builders sought to leave lasting marks, the meaning of their work is as much in its fragility as in its endurance. The spirit of the builders also teaches patience. These structures were rarely completed quickly. They required years, decades, even generations of work. In an age of instant gratification, there is wisdom in observing what can only be achieved through sustained effort, meticulous care, and a vision that extends beyond the lifetime of a single individual. The creators of Göbekli Tepe, for instance, organized monumental construction before the advent of agriculture, showing that human ambition and faith can precede and shape the very structures of society itself. In contemplating these achievements, one also senses a dialogue with mortality. The builders knew they would not live to see the final form of their work, yet they labored as if their hands might touch eternity. As the final light of day fades across deserts, oceans, and ancient ruins, we are left with a profound sense of wonder, a quiet invitation to contemplate the achievements of those who came before us. Each structure we have explored, from the subterranean labyrinths of Derinkuyu to the monumental moai of Easter Island, from the floating city of Nan Madol to the carved grandeur of Kailasa Temple, is more than stone and earth. They are touchstones of human curiosity, ambition, and ingenuity. They remind us that our ancestors were not merely survivors of their environments, but dreamers, planners, and visionaries who reached beyond the ordinary to create something that endures across millennia. There is a rhythm to history, and within it, a dialogue between the known and the unknown. These ancient constructions speak in a language of contrasts: light and shadow, earth and sky, permanence and impermanence, knowledge and mystery. Each site challenges modern assumptions about what was possible with limited technology, yet also reassures us that human creativity is boundless. They prompt us to consider not only the how of their creation, which remains partially unanswered, but the why, which often touches on purpose, belief, and the human desire to connect with forces larger than oneself. In reflecting on these wonders, we also confront the limits of contemporary understanding. Modern science can measure, analyze, and replicate aspects of ancient construction, but it cannot capture the full intent, vision, and spirit that animated these builders. The Great Pyramid's precise alignment with the stars, Göbekli Tepe's enigmatic circles, Kailasa Temple's intricate carvings, and Nan Madol's impossible canals all hint at a depth of knowledge, observation, and dedication that eludes complete explanation. This uncertainty is not frustrating. It is essential. Mystery preserves a sense of reverence, encouraging contemplation and humility, reminding us that even with all our progress, the past holds secrets we have yet to fully grasp. There is also a subtle meditation in considering the human scale of these projects. The builders invested decades, sometimes generations, into works that many of them would never see completed. Their efforts were communal, bound by shared purpose and ritual, demonstrating an understanding of cooperation, planning, and societal cohesion that resonates across time. These monuments teach us that progress is not only measured in individual achievement or technological advancement, but also in collective vision and sustained dedication. They are reminders that human potential is amplified when ambition is paired with shared responsibility and persistence. The philosophical lessons are equally profound. Ancient structures urge us to consider permanence and impermanence, ambition and humility. They reveal that the impulse to create, to leave a mark, and to seek connection with something larger is deeply embedded in the human psyche. Even when civilizations fade, when empires crumble and landscapes change, these works endure, quietly bridging the gap between past and present. They ask us to reflect on our own contributions, what we build, why we build, and whether our creations will resonate beyond our own lifetimes. Moreover, these wonders encourage a dialogue with imagination. The unanswered questions, how the Moai were moved, how Göbekli Tepe was constructed by hunter-gatherers, how Kailasa Temple was carved from solid rock. All invite speculation, storytelling, and poetic reflection. In doing so, they link science with philosophy, fact with myth, the measurable with the ineffable. They remind us that human understanding is not only about solutions and equations, but also about awe, curiosity, and the willingness to accept that some mysteries are meant to inspire rather than be fully unraveled. There is a quiet universality in these lessons. Across continents, cultures, and epochs, humanity has repeatedly sought to leave something lasting, to connect with the divine, the natural world, and one another. These constructions are testament to shared human instincts, the desire to mark time, to communicate across generations, and to engage in acts that transcend the immediate needs of survival. In contemplating these sites, we are reminded that creativity, vision, and purpose are constants in the human story, even if the methods and outcomes vary across space and time. Finally, these wonders encourage reflection on our own place within the continuum of history. As we gaze upon the remains of civilizations long past, we are invited to consider our own contributions and responsibilities. How will our monuments, our technologies, our ideas, and our cultures be remembered? What mysteries might future generations ponder about us? The ancients remind us that human endeavor is both fragile and enduring, capable of leaving indelible marks, yet subject to the inexorable passage of time. In closing, the lessons of these ancient wonders are not confined to archaeology, history, or engineering. They are meditative guides for living, to approach the world with curiosity, to respect the past, to act with intention, and to create with both skill and imagination. They teach us to cherish what endures and to embrace the mysteries that remain, understanding that awe is as important as knowledge and wonder as vital as certainty. As night falls and stars emerge, casting their soft light over ruins, temples, and stone circles, we are reminded that the past is never truly gone. It lives in the structures, in the spirit of those who built them, and in the questions they leave behind. Every shadow, every carved line, every monument standing in silence is an invitation to marvel, to reflect, and to continue the timeless human conversation between what is known and what is yet to be discovered. In this way, the ancient constructions of the world are not just relics of history. They are mirrors, reflecting the enduring human desire to reach, to create, and to understand.